What's something that seems fun, but is actually terrible? New Year's Eve in Times Square. You're better off watching it on TV instead. Times Square in general. Wait. This is on my before I have kids bucket list. Talk me out of it. Having sex in a bath or jacuzzi. Also beach sex. It's just sand everywhere. Was just about to say shower sex, myself. Granted, the only options I've ever had in life have been the shower, tub combos or showers with room for only one person. But the danger of slipping in water being the true enemy of sex makes it all a no-go for me personally. Confirm. Ex and I got a hotel room with a jacuzzi. We ended up peeing on each other, to see if we were into that, then just laughing at how ridiculous it was. La Tomatina. Massive tomato fight in a small village in Spain. 20,000 participants in a narrow street, drunk, full bladders packed in like sardines. National Guard is there to monitor. Then they force the trucks through to drop tomatoes on you to throw at others. You'd really love that town in Taiwan where people shoot fireworks at each other all day one day of the year. You will get peed on. Sign me the fug up. Honestly, that sounds like a blast if I was shit-faced. Driving to the beach if it's a long drive. Driving 3 hours one way to get sand encrusted and soggy just to drive another 3 hours back is not exactly going to leave anyone in a good mood. It's funny you say that because the beach I used to go to was 2.5 hours away. We mostly went there because there's a huge pier with a bar that has $5 margaritas. I hate sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Anything to do with large crowds. A lot of people disagree with you. Otherwise there wouldn't be a crowd in the first place. This is especially bad for me. My ears are super sensitive and every loud noise leaves my ear ringing. Aside from me just hating touching people I don't know. Being a swinger. The idea of a ton of novel sex sounds great, but it doesn't really work that way. You have to spend all your time looking for people to hook up. Get connected enough that a meetup can get scheduled. More scheduling. Crappy sex with strangers you may or may not really find attractive. Awkward emotional stuff to work through with your partner. Oh yeah, and your partner is having sex with people you may find simply awful. In the end it's all logistics and embarrassing situations. Man, we got a swinger couple that comes into my work that tries their damnedest to get with my girlfriend and I, despite the many different iterations of the phrase, we're a monogamous couple and even if we weren't we wouldn't do it with you. My wife and I are our polyamorous friends' token monogamous friends. I get why they're into it, they're cool with my wife and me not being into it, we all get along great. But their poly friends really do not tempt us to shop around at all. Novel sex is easy, just lubricate the pages. I don't miss the swinging lifestyle one bit. You are spot on, it took forever to set up and on the rare occasion I left happy my ex would say later she didn't like the guy much and did it just to go along. Or she would change her mind and then I had to make it sound like we had an emergency come up. Becoming an adult. Does not apply if you have money. I'm gonna get hate for this, but going to Mardi Gras in New Orleans. The idea of it is terrific, and it's certainly an adventure. But I went when I was 19, and it was incredibly chaotic and overwhelming. I had college friends who continued to go every year, but once was definitely enough for me. Edit, I'm getting some flack for the fact that I was only 19 when I went. Please trust me that this did not matter in New Orleans back in 2000. I looked about 15, and I still got served everywhere I went, without getting carded. Me not having fun had nothing to do with whether or not I was sober. On a similar note, Times Square in NYC. Edit, of course New Year's Eve is famously terrible, but avoid the area in general unless you're going to a Broadway show. More specifically, Mardi Gras in the Quarter. I love New Orleans, but fug a bunch of Mardi Gras. Go literally any other time of the year. I went in March and it was lit. Seriously. If you're considering visiting, you can go any time of year and it will be fun. They party hardy every day of the week. All day. But Mardi Gras is the definition of insane. Picnics, eating outside. Especially if it's windy. If it's not windy then there are always bugs. If I could give you gold, I would first place metal. I hate eating outside. There's one restaurant in the middle of downtown where I like it, because there are no flower boxes or trees. When I was a kid, my dad worked at the local deli in town to make some cash on the side and I thought it was the coolest job ever. I loved walking in and seeing him work, and even though it was making sandwiches and prepping catering orders, I always liked when I'm old enough to get a job that's what I'm gonna do. Well, I turned 14 and the bosses offer me a job almost as soon as my birthday came around. I used to think working in a restaurant was the coolest thing in the world. Until I worked in food service, and it actually is the worst thing ever. Nothing better than working long hours for minimum and being screamed at by rude and angry customers. I think what made it seem cool was just that my dad is a generally calm and happy guy, so he made working a pretty difficult job seem fun because he had such a calm demeanor about it. For that I give him a ton of respect. Wow, didn't expect this to get this much notice. To clarify some things, I didn't hate my job. It was a lot of hard work for minimal pay, but the bosses always treated me well. But I don't have the patience to handle it for as many years as he did. He was able to deal with a lot of stuff with a smile on his face that would normally cause a lot of people, like myself, to absolutely lose their shit. It was a great job, but it wasn't the perfect job that I imagined it as when I was little. Food service really is drudgery. Getting drunk at Cedar Point. Getting drunk anywhere public in which you have to live out of a backpack for over 3 hours. Add to that you have to stand in line constantly, bathrooms are busy and gross, it's hot as fuck, and to either maintain your drunkenness or commit to sobering up you have to spend a ton of cash at concession stands. This is one that you shouldn't have to try to realize it's terrible, but if you do, choose your supplies wisely. Honestly, this doesn't sound like a fun time to begin with. Getting smashed and riding fast, spinning rides all day? Sounds like a recipe for lots and lots of vomiting. The first time I rode the Millennium Force I was shit-faced. Attending an NFL game. The NFL's dirty little secret is that the game day experience is total shit compared to grilling up some food at your house, cracking open a bunch of good beer, and watching with your friends on your big screen TV. Being a stay-at-home fan with friends and shared food, drink is better in every way. My family once made me go to a ski jumping event. It's a big thing here and I did sometimes watch it on TV with them. It had everything you described, but it was also cold and miserable because winter. I agree and want to add that baseball is way better at the baseball park than watching on TV. Baseball games tend to be less expensive, there's more of a fun, relaxed atmosphere, and you can see the whole defense adjust unlike on TV. Shower sex. I've fallen once or twice. Luckily the lack of lubricant due to the water washing it away will create enough friction that if you're already in there you'll probably be held up by the vagina. Going to the fair, pay to park. Pay to get in. Pay for rides. Pay for special events. Pay for overpriced food. I literally just paid $97 for my family of 5 to eat dinner and wander around. $97 for 5 people is kind of a bargain. $97 for entertainment and food for 5 people sounds great. Waterboarding. I mean, waterboarding in Guantanamo Bay sounds awesome if you don't know what either of those things are. Renting a paddleboat. You see them sitting there and think it would be nice to get out on the water, but you quickly realize that it's a very inefficient way to power a boat and you just return to the dock 20 minutes after you set off. Paddleboarding on the other hand is pretty damn fun. A bit difficult at first, but it's relatively easy to pick up. Working out your arms and working up a sweat isn't too bad when you inevitably fall off into the water at some point. Storming Area 51. Okay, Mr. Government. Going to parties. I have no friends and feel lonely a lot, but if I ever go to a party or anything it's fucking agony. I personally like a little party of 5 to 7 close friends. We end up having way more fun than a party of 20 plus people and we all get to talk to each other and enjoy each other's company. Here's my trick: if it's a really big, busy party, pull up a chair right next to the snack table. When people come up to get some snacks, you can introduce yourself and exchange pleasantries if you want, but chances are they won't linger too long because they want to get back to where they came from, thus making you unlikely to get trapped in a long chat. Meanwhile, you can stress eat in between conversations, because you're right by the snacks. Meeting up with people from work on the weekends. Not when your boss owns a giant fishing boat. Being tickled. That doesn't even seem fun. My 15-month-old son likes it though. Having huge breasts. Back pains, stares, clothes are harder to find, bras are hard to find in your size, and regular shirts on you make you look like risque. Also the boob sweat. And people sexualizing your body from a young age. Strip clubs. You want a room full of sad blokes buying overpriced drinks looking at women pretend to enjoy taking their clothes off? Strip clubs, honestly just incredibly depressing. A job that involves traveling pretty much all the time. People will be like, oh, you get to travel and visit all these new places. Yes, that, and not having a stable home, hotel living, not being able to even buy a 3-pack of something or do groceries since you'll be traveling again next week. It gets exhausting. Having lived in a coastal state all my life, it never fails to baffle me how people flock to the beach on a 100-degree scorcher of a day. Burning hot sand, swarms of people with little to no regard for personal space, sweat dripping everywhere, not my idea of summertime fun, but to each his own. On a side note, whenever I tell someone my ideal time to go to the beach is in September, October, they look at me like I'm a three-headed dragon. Surprise parties. I told my mom when I was 14 that I never wanted a surprise birthday party. When I turned 17, I guess she thought I wasn't serious. She invited the most random assortment of people ever and it was awful. Also, surprises in general kind of suck. I enjoy the anticipation leading up to a fun event. Drinking and partying at bars and clubs. I go hard at a bar once a year, on my birthday, when all I want is for my friends to make sure I don't wander too far. I usually have a great fucking time dancing, socializing, and probably making an idiot of myself at karaoke. I wake up the next day feeling like shit every time and that's all I need to remind myself why I don't drink. Having a one-night stand, do know if it's just me, I feel dirty afterwards and sort of hollow, like I got nothing from it after the deed with my post-nut clarity. I'm probably going to be argued with here but being an artist, or art major. Imagine this, you get to create a lot of shit, there's a fictional world at your fingertips. Sounds nice, right? Well then imagine some bitch named Bethany goes and repost, without credit, by the way, your work on her Insta to promote her shitty MLM who is just about as annoying as some elder bitch named Shannon who fucking gives out raisins and pencils, if you're lucky, peppermints, on goddamned Halloween and no matter how much you tell the bitch to put it down she won't because what you gonna do? UWU report MWE? Well dat just p woves how much of a whittle be which you are. You rarely woked on it. It's just a shitty dwine. I could do dat with MWYI's CWOSED. You woo 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 woo, do it yourself then, Bethany, you fat middle-aged bitch. Or, you're getting a little stressed, reasonable right? Every career induces stress once in a while. Well just as you think this some bastard named Cletus Hubert Jr. burst through your wall, completely busting it down with his huge ass beer belly, and he cries like that of an eagle, letting his patriotic pride sink in like the feeling of your impending doom, oh you think you're stressed. Well I shoved a cactus up my ass while I motorboated shredded wood. But no I don't deserve to be stressed because some art major is. So let me fix you up a nice cup of water to relieve your nerves, you little bitch. Hello and thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Edit, hello again. I see some people worrying if the Bethany situation is real, and fortunately I can say no. Well, not anymore. Taking care of a cute dog that is not yours and seeing how he eats all your precious new blankets. Life. Food fights. It's better if you take the food out of the cans first. Staying up all night, then crashing the next day. Also happy cake day my friend. Having children. Going to any type of convention? A couple days after the actual convention you'll think that you had loads of fun but while at the actual convention you're utterly miserable. Hungry, thirsty, feet hurting, out of money, tired and most likely bored if you're waiting in line for any signings or panels. Also you're probably very uncomfortable if you are cosplaying or very worried if a piece is about to break. If you bought action figures or art you're probably annoyed about having to carry it. In conclusion, conventions sound fun on paper, conventions seem like they were fun after a day or two has passed, but while you are actually there it's the embodiment of hell. Posting on Reddit. Clubbing. Nuff said. War. Slip and slides beat your ass every time. Watching Cats on Broadway.